we're tackling Eckhart Tolle and how to conquer procrastination. So it's like we're all on a mission together to finally, break free from that I'll do it later trap. The book's all about living fully in the present moment. And Tolle seems to think that's the key to busting through those mental barriers we all have.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? We often think of procrastination as just like a lack of willpower, something simple like that. But Tolle goes deeper. He says it's rooted in our relationship with time and something he calls the ego mind.
The ego mind. When I first read that, I gotta admit, it sounded a little out there. But the more I read, the more relatable it actually felt.
It's that voice we all have in our heads, that constant chatter, the one that judges, worries, brings up past mistakes, and makes us anxious about the future. Tolle argues that all that mental chatter, that's a big reason why we procrastinate. When we're stuck in those loops of regretting the past or worrying about the future, we're not actually doing anything and now W.
So the first step is like recognizing that voice, realizing it's not actually us, kind of like becoming aware of a bad habit.
Exactly. And that's the tricky part, because that ego mind, it can be so convincing. It wants you to believe that all those worries and judgments are real and super important. But if we can start to see it as separate from us, almost like imagine a negative roommate in our mind, then we can get some distance from it.
Okay, trying to picture my ego mind as a roommate, a pretty annoying roommate. So how does that help with, actually beating procrastination?
Well, when you have this watch your consciousness, you start to notice when your ego mind is trying to pull you into procrastination mode. You can catch those thoughts like, I'll do it later, or I'm not good enough, before they kind of take control.
So it's like a warning system for procrastination.
Yeah.
Instead of just reacting to those thoughts, you have a moment to choose something different. I like that.
And that connects directly to why we procrastinate. We're either thinking about past failures or freaking out about future disasters, and we miss the chance to just act now.
I see. So we're so focused on what's not happening right now that we don't have the energy to actually, do anything right now. But there's this other concept in the book, and I gotta say, it really got me thinking. The pain body. It's a little mysterious. Can you explain that a bit?
The pain body, that's a really interesting, even kind of unsettling idea. Tolle describes it as this reservoir of all the emotional pain we've gone through. It could be anything: childhood stuff, bad breakups, disappointments, even just the everyday stress piling up.
So it's like invisible baggage we carry around. And how does this relate to procrastination?
Here's where it gets interesting. The pain body, it doesn't like being ignored. It wants attention, and it usually gets it by triggering those negative thoughts and emotions. So when we're feeling stressed or overwhelmed, the pain body, it kind of shows up, and it makes our insecurities, fears, and doubts even worse.
Like self-sabotage almost.
Well, like with the ego mind, the first step is awareness. We need to see when the pain body is active and realize those negative thoughts and emotions aren't necessarily real. They're just the pain body trying to get our attention.
Makes sense. But how do we stop it from controlling what we do? Especially when those negative feelings, they feel so real and intense.
And that's where mindfulness comes in. That's what we'll dive into next.
All right, mindfulness. It seems like that word's everywhere these days. So how does Tolle, connect mindfulness to dealing with this pain body thing and actually overcoming procrastination?
And being mindful also helps us see the patterns of the ego mind. When we're more aware of our thoughts and feelings, we can catch those procrastination triggers before they, take over.
So it's like, what, an internal radar for procrastination?
Yeah, I like that. It's noticing those little signs, that feeling of resistance, the urge to check your phone, suddenly wanting to tidy your desk, and then consciously doing something else.
That sounds helpful, but also really difficult. How do we actually, get better at this mindfulness thing? What can we do? Yeah, I get that. If I'm completely focused on a task, my mind doesn't have the space to wander into those procrastination traps.
Exactly. And that's why Tolle says we should even approach mundane stuff with that sense of presence and curiosity. It's about finding the joy in ordinary things, the beauty in everyday life.
So it's a shift in mindset then. Instead of seeing tasks as chore, we see them as chances to practice mindfulness. This connection between presence and purpose.
Tolle thinks that procrastination often comes from something deeper, like a misalignment. It's not just laziness or a lack of willpower. It could be a sign we're not really engaged with what we're doing, that we're not living in a way that matches our true purpose.
Yeah, I've felt that. I know I should be working on something, but I keep finding other stuff to do, almost like I'm avoiding it on purpose. Is that what you mean? What's one key thing you want listeners to remember as we go into the last part?
Just remember, procrastination is a symptom, not the problem itself. It usually means we're resisting this moment, disconnected from who we really are. And the power of now gives us some really powerful tools to overcome that resistance and take back our power.
So we've covered a lot from the power of now, the ego mind, the pain body, mindfulness, and finding our purpose. But I bet some people listening are thinking, okay, this is all interesting, but I'm still struggling. What can I do, like right now? What would you say to them?
At first, you have to think about it, put in effort to flip the switch and bring light into a dark room, but after a while, it's just automatic.
So for everyone listening who wants to finally beat procrastination and embrace living in the now, what's one last thought you want to leave them with?
Well, if procrastination is like a whisper from that ego mind, trying to keep you stuck in the past or future, then being present is the voice of your true self. It's calling you back to right now, to all the possibilities that exist in this very moment.
Beautifully said. And with that, we'll wrap up our deep dive into the power of now.